guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, sounds like he's about 40 years old, and he's going to share his story about events that happened about 10 years ago when he was 30. At the time when he was 30, he was doing well for himself, owned his own condo, things were going well in his life, and he was starting to attract women at that point in his life like he wasn't when he was earlier, which I say tends to happen. And at one point, he attracts this woman who is a darn good-looking blonde who also happened to be a single MOM. And at first, she's a good-looking girl, they're having a good time together, but there was always something there that didn't seem quite right. He could sense it, right? But eventually he kept dating her and all that, but eventually the red flags got to be too much, and finally something was confirmed about her, a couple things, that eventually he ended up kicking her to the curb. And to no surprise, she had a complete and total meltdown. And that's when the fangs came out. The fangs and the claws. That's where she literally went from being Dr. Jekyll to Miss Bitch. Like that. And I'm doing this story, guys, a perfect example for multiple reasons of what I tell you. Number one, for those of you dating in relationships, be extraordinarily careful if you're going to get involved with a single MOM for lots of reasons. I'm not saying they're all like this, because that's not true, because I know a number of them, but I got one in the family, and they are cool, but I've also known plenty that fulfill these negative stereotypes, so you've got to be careful. Also, I talk about how for guys that, let's be honest here, your early years, high school, college, 20s, you weren't exactly rolling with the ladies, but all of a sudden you started establishing yourself. You're getting a bit accomplished, you got some assets, resources, doing well, and all of a sudden out of the woodwork, all the women are coming after you because they're getting close to 30, and obviously they're afraid of that number 30. Be careful. Be very careful if you're honest with yourself, because if you really haven't changed that much in terms of your personality and your confidence, all that, and all of a sudden they're after you, you got to be realistic and question why. Otherwise, you could end up being sucked into a relationship with one of these types, marry them, and then see their true colors. So I think that'd be a very good one. But before I get started, I want to read this quick email I got from a subscriber who was thanking me because the content I do has really helped turn things around in his marriage. Okay, it's a quick email, take 2 minutes. But I think it's a good one to show you guys this type of stuff does help guys, either single, married, whatever. So real quick with the email, then I'll get on with the main story. The guy at the email says, hey man, I just want to drop you a quick email that I hope will assist other guys out there. My wife and I have been married for some time now. In that time, I've never been a blue pill or red pill kind of guy. I've just been me. We had the kind of relationship where we kiss good morning when leaving for work and when getting home from work, and finally good night. Our sex life was pretty good until a couple years ago. At first, it was the usual excuses. The kids are awake, she wasn't feeling well, housework needed to be done, it was daytime, etc. But after a while, it just became no. So all I could do is accept it and live with it. Which a lot of guys do, and that ain't no way to be. If you're not hooking up, you might as well just be roommates and friends. What the hell's the point? But a lot of guys accept that. But not him. At some point, I discovered your fantastic channel. I knew it was great when she said how much she hated it. Thanks to you, I discovered the RP system. After some thought, I decided to give it a try. I still gave her the same amount of kisses, but they were the absolute kisses, worst kisses I could muster. I also stopped being the conversationalist. It was up to her to keep the conversation going. Translation, he wasn't making an effort anymore. He wasn't trying anymore. She was getting half-ass kisses from him. He wasn't chasing her anymore. After this type of treatment, she asked why my kisses suddenly became so bad. I told her since I wasn't getting what I wanted, from now on, my worst kiss would be the best kiss she would be getting. This kept going on for a while until one night. I climbed into bed to settle down for the evening. She soon joined me, but something was different this time. She was naked. I don't have to give you the details from here. For the last couple weeks, I've been getting it once or twice a day. This weekend, she told me she had a surprise for me in the garage. I discovered that she bought me a new rider mower with money from her account. I like to shower you with more gratitude, but it's sex time. So, in other words, his marriage turned into your stereotypical loveless, sexless marriage. But, as he mentioned, he was the conversationalist. He was obviously trying to get her to have rolls in the hay. She wasn't interested. And it was just pecks on the cheeks and shit like that. So, he found my content, and probably other content like that. Stop making the effort. Stop chasing after her. Stop rewarding her for her crappy, bad behavior. No longer chasing after her. No longer giving her the validation. And imagine that. And suddenly, and she noticed this. And eventually, guess what? Now, she's chasing after him. She's chasing after his validation. All of a sudden now, she's now making a major effort. Hooking up once or twice a day all of a sudden, when before, the answer was no, no, and no. And buying him the rider mower, which wasn't meant for him to do work, except that obviously he would enjoy with her money. And now they're having more SEX. The point is, and I talk about it all the time, what happens when a man removes his attention? He stops chasing after her validation and makes her chase after his. Also, what happens when a man makes that she suddenly feels uncertain about the relationship, uncertain how he feels. Right then and there, you see that. Now she's chasing after his validation. She's trying to make sure to get some certainty with him, because maybe she's thinking he doesn't love me anymore. Is there another woman? He might not. He might walk. He might walk. See what happens, guys? And also, then at this point, when she's behaving in this way, in a good way, now you can reward her a little bit, but not too much. It is what it is, guys, but I'm glad I could help this guy out. So good for you, bro. Keep up the good work. Okay, on with the story. That was like a short. Remember way back in the day when movies would come out and they'd have a quick short little cartoon or a quick episode of the Three Stooges? I'm going way back in time. On to the main story. Okay, so here we go. This guy says, Dear SSM, I just finished watching your My Wife Baby Trapped Me, so I kicked her out, and now I'm secretly meeting with a divorce attorney video, and I enjoyed it. The story reminded me of something that happened to me about 10 years ago. I wasn't entirely RP'd back then, otherwise things would never have gotten as far as they did. But what happened was I'd been living the life for quite a while. I was single, owned my own condo, had a decent enough job, and regularly hung out with a big group of friends. It was a pretty fun time. And then I met Tiffany. She was smoking hot, 6-foot tall single mom. She was still beautiful, even though we were both getting close to 30 at the time. Aha, she's approaching 30. I tell you guys, the number one age or number that women fear, 30. Because at 30, A, that's when the market value starts to decline, and they know it. And 2, that's the age where a lot of women are fearful that they'll be seen as big losers if they don't have a ring on their finger, or at least on the way to the altar. It says here, I'd say that she was somewhere around a 7 or maybe an 8. Not the hottest, but definitely worth a look. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have assumed that Tiffany was out of my league. I would have assumed that she was out of my league. Never think that, guys. That immediately puts you on the path to put him on a pedestal. No, how about you're out of their league? That's the mentality you want to have. So imagine my surprise when she practically threw herself at me. I'm not surprised. You've said many times that when you achieve some amount of success as you near 30, women who previously wouldn't have given you the time of day will suddenly come out of the woodwork. Well, here you go. See? But I didn't know about any of that at the time. All I knew was she had the hots for me. She also told me she was on the pill, which was fine by me. Never believe that, guys. I don't care if they tell you you're on the pill. I don't care if you see them swallow it down. It could be a fucking Tic Tac. You still wear your protection. However, unlike most other guys, I didn't completely buy into her act. Tiffany and I got along great. The bedroom stuff was tons of fun, and it seemed like we had a lot in common. In fact, it seemed like we had an impossible number of things in common. That type of crap, guys, only happens in the movies. And you're going to find out in a couple minutes where this amazing amount of things having in common comes from. Somehow I remained suspicious about Tiffany. When she told me she loved me, I said it back to her. But I didn't believe her when she said it. And I don't think she believed me when I said it back. Well, that ought to tell you something. Trust your gut. Listen to your gut. Your gut's your truth. Things with Tiffany went on for a couple of months. And hopefully this next part isn't too much information. But one day, immediately after she and I finished up doing the deed, Tiffany did that thing where a woman lays on her back, then pulls her knees up to her chest. In case you're not familiar with that, it's a fertility technique designed to increase a woman's chances of getting pregnant. Yes, bro, I know exactly what that is. It's like they're doing knee raises, the abdominal exercise knee raises. They pull those knees back and hope your load goes into the baby-making department. That's what she's hoping there. And yet doesn't think that you would pick up on that unless it was like totally dark in the room or something. Tiffany assumed I wouldn't understand what she was trying to do, but I instantly recognized it. It was then I also realized that I hadn't seen her take the pill in a couple weeks. She was obviously trying to get pregnant by me. So I invented an excuse to get both of us into the shower and hope that she would take care of the problem. He says, spoiler alert, she never got pregnant, so I guess the shower worked. So, remember the whole she's almost 30 thing? And what's one of the oldest tricks in the book to get a guy to marry a woman? She gets pregnant. And back in the old days, that was standard operating procedure. But nowadays, the attitude's changed. And in my opinion, why dating relationship guys get a girl pregnant and it's your child, paternity test, DNA test proves that, it doesn't mean you have to marry her. Okay, I know there'll be a lot of traditionalists watching and saying, SSM, that's terrible. After all these stories I do, does it make a whole lot of sense to get involved, marry a woman you hardly know, or there's a lot of drama, and make the foundation of that relationship and marriage because you got her pregnant? Even though they supposedly have so much in common, it's a bad idea to go. If it is indeed your child, as a man, it's your responsibility to pay for that child, provide. Doesn't mean you got to marry her or be in a relationship with her, live with her. But a lot of guys do that, and they end up being completely freaking miserable. But she's trying to baby trap you. This is the time to get out. I noticed before his gut already told him there were problems with her. He says, still, Tiffany showed her true colors. I began planning an exit strategy. Well, dude, you're not married to her, and you're not living with her, and you don't own any property together, so you don't really need a whole big exit strategy. You can just break up with her. End of story. Call her up the next day, or fuck it, text her, I don't care. A few days later, I got a sort of panic call from my sister-in-law. We'll call my sister-in-law Jennifer. Jennifer wanted to let me know that Tiffany had called her wanting some girl talk or something like that. Jennifer said that Tiffany had specifically asked for advice on how to win me over and get me to propose to her and so forth. Imagine that. Almost 30 years old and is desperately trying to get you to propose to her. Who would have thought? Jennifer also said that Tiffany had mentioned that she had searched my entire social media footprint. Jennifer told me that she had memorized all of my interests, hobbies, preferences, favorite TV shows, and all that stuff, so it seemed like we had more in common than we actually did. Imagine that. So this whole thing earlier that we have just so much in common, it's amazing, blah, blah, it's a big freaking act. She did that on purpose. She did her detective work, found everything to put on a big freaking act to suck you in and win you over, hoping that she'd get pregnant. That didn't work. Finding a way to get you to propose. Because again, this is a single MOM. She doesn't want to look like a big loser to society by not being married at 30 years old. Right? See what I'm talking about, guys? This is why I do this channel. This is why I share these stories, to show you guys this type of crap happens. And why you need to be aware of these things and be on your guard. Finally, Jennifer said that I could make whatever decision I wanted with that information. But she said that if she was getting played, she'd want somebody to tell her. You need to take your sister-in-law and your brother out for a freaking dinner to thank her for that, or send her an Amazon gift card or something, because believe me, she helped you. Obviously, I appreciate Jennifer giving me the heads up and thanked her. It should go without saying that I dumped Tiffany once I was sure she wasn't pregnant. That meant nothing in the bedroom forever. But I was fine with that. Who wants to be with a liar and a manipulator anyway? Well, newsflash, they all do manipulation tactics, even the best ones. But the worst ones take it to a whole new level. Once I figured I was in the clear with a possible pregnancy, I broke up with Tiffany. And all of a sudden, the sweet, sexy, beautiful woman I'd known all these months immediately vanished. She was instantly replaced with an angry, bitter, vengeful bitch. She went from Dr. Jekyll to Miss Bitch. Tiffany blabbed about what happened and told all our friends the worst. most inaccurate version of the story. She wanted to ruin all my friendships, and she definitely ruined some of them. But most of them took my side because they'd seen how I had treated my other girlfriends, and Tiffany's story didn't add up at all. So, what's that saying? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And by the way, those friends that you had, those so-called friends you had that were no longer your friends after she made up all this crap about you, guess what? She just did you a favor, because now you know who your real friends are, and you can cut those people out of your life. And I hope you did. The reason I'm writing this email is to raise awareness about single MOMs. They call what happened to me daddy baiting. It's where a single MOM will do everything, and he writes that in giant letters, everything in the book to get a father. And the father might not just be for her kids either, because I sometimes think Tiffany wanted a father figure for herself since her own father is such a loser. Who knows? Flip a coin. They do have daddy issues. So, you relationship-minded men should understand what you're up against. If some hot single MOM suddenly throws herself at you like that, it would be a smart idea to tell her you don't date single MOMs and just leave it at that. Because nothing good ever comes from dating a single MOM. Well, there you go. Another guy who's been around the block, experienced it, and saw the worst. Now, like I said, and I will be fair here, I know some. I have a family member that's one, and these are the ones that actually have their shit together and actually pretty cool and all that. They don't have the stereotypes or all the stereotypes. But this one here is obviously on the worst level of the negative stereotype, and believe me, there are plenty out there that are just as bad. So you single guys out there that are dating relationships, you gotta be careful. I wouldn't advise it just to save yourself some trouble, but if you do, dating a single MOM, be very careful, be very suspicious, be on your guard, because a lot of them, they want that guy. They want a husband because obviously it's another source of income, a role model for the kid, takes things off her shoulders, all a bunch of reasons. She doesn't have to be single and feel like a big freaking loser according to society, all that shit. Be careful. And right here, again, she was stalking his social media, pretending to like all the crap he liked, just to him to think, wow, we have so much in common. And a lot of clueless guys would think that. They'd be like, oh, we have so much in common. It's amazing. I got to marry this girl. It's all a big act. And then the whole she's on the pill thing, and yet obviously she wasn't. And the whole gestures in the sack with raising her knees up, stuff like that. You got to be careful. This is why I do what I do, to help guys out. Hopefully you don't fall into these traps, because so many guys have been victims of these types of things. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys, you've been in a situation like this. Let's hear about it. Share with the brotherhood. Share with the community here. Help some guys out. And also, guys, if you got a great story you'd like to share with me, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just make sure you write it out easy, make it easy for me to read, and I'll definitely cover it down the road if it works. And this also goes for good articles or stories they think would be good for this channel, or a crazy, entertaining story you could share. I could do on my other channel, the other channel, They Did What. If you guys haven't checked out my other channel and like the entertaining stuff, check it out. I'll post a link in the description. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.